Hi everyone, Dr. Hall here, and I'm going to attempt to do duodenum and pancreas with you. This is tricky. We have a lot of different structures that are going anterior and posterior and every which way. So let's see how I do. We're going to start with the most posterior structure, which is our abdominal aorta. So the liver actually crosses the midline, so this would maybe be coming down around here. So there's my abdominal aorta. Obviously, it would extend superiorly beyond this and be the thoracic aorta. And of course, we have our celiac trunk is the first main branch coming off of the abdominal aorta. So that's the celiac trunk, which you'll remember splits into 3 different arteries. The first one of which, I'm going to bring this down just so we have a little bit more room, is going to be on the right side, the common hepatic artery. So here's our common hepatic artery coming toward the right. And then, of course, from our last lesson, right, we have the hepatic artery proper with the right gastric artery coming off of it. Let me get a little extra light on that so that you can see it better. And that hepatic artery proper is going to travel up toward the liver, hence the name. All right, and it's going to branch into the left hepatic, right hepatic, and then off of the right hepatic, we're also going to have the cystic artery, which is going to go to the gallbladder. I've removed the bile ducts just for now so that you can see those arteries. You also remember the right gastric artery coming off the hepatic artery proper, which will curve around the minor curvature of the stomach. The common hepatic artery, after the hepatic artery proper branches off, continues inferiorly as the gastroduodenal artery. So for fun, let's add our other branches of the celiac trunk. So you might remember the splenic artery, which is this big squiggly artery that comes out to the spleen. We'll make that my spleen. And now I'm going to also add in, well, let's do the left gastric. You remember that branches into the esophageal and then continues around the lesser curvature of the stomach. For completeness sake, I'll add that in. All right, so that part continues up. This part circles around. Just want to try to keep it out of our way. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to add in the portal veins. So you'll remember we have our splenic vein, our inferior mesenteric vein, our superior mesenteric vein, all emptying into the hepatic portal vein, which is going to be posterior to these structures here. Okay. Very good. All right, move that. I'm going to move that spleen in a little bit closer. Okay. So now it is time to add in the pancreas. Okay, so the pancreas is going to sit quite posteriorly in the abdomen. The tail of the pancreas comes out and pretty much reaches the spleen. Then we have the body, the neck, the head, and the uncinate process here. And that's going to be located there. The pancreas, of course, has exocrine and endocrine functions. In its exocrine function, it's going to produce enzymes that digest all 4 classes of organic macromolecules, right? So trypsin and chymotrypsin for proteins, pancreatic lipase for lipids, pancreatic amylase for carbohydrates, and of course nuclease for nucleic acids. And so all of those digestive enzymes are going to be secreted into the main pancreatic duct and travel through, or the accessory pancreatic duct. Now, not only are those enzymes going to be squirted into the duodenum, which we're going to add in a minute, but of course also bile is going to be squirted in. So this is my cystic duct, my left and right common hepatic ducts, and then my common bile duct, or just bile duct, is going to travel posteriorly and then it's going to empty into the duodenum at the same place, same juncture as my main pancreatic duct. Okay, so they're going to empty into the duodenum together. So we better add that duodenum. So the duodenum is kind of a C-shaped loop of intestine, right? So we have the pylorus, which is that sphincter muscle of the stomach, and then we have the first part of the duodenum travels horizontally, second part travels vertically, third part horizontally, and then the fourth part loops up like this. So we'll go ahead and put the duodenum in place, and then we're going to open it up, cut it open, so that we can see the two openings, the minor papilla, where the accessory pancreatic duct empties, and then the major papilla, where the main pancreatic duct and the bile duct squirt their juices into the small intestine. And that's happening in the second part of the small intestine. Okay, so we need to add some more arteries. So I just want to show you, right? We've got our common hepatic artery here. Oops, that was my right gastric. I'm going to take it off for now. Our common hepatic artery is up here, right? And then it travels down. Oh, this needs to be posterior. Okay, bile duct. All right. So then it sends off the hepatic artery proper, and then it continues inferiorly as the gastroduodenal artery. Before it travels down, it's going to send off a little branch that will supply the top of the duodenum, and that's going to be the supraduodenal artery. Then that gastroduodenal artery continues posteriorly. I'm going to add more to it. Continues posterior to the duodenum. All right, and it's going to go into two branches. I need to move the duodenum for a moment so that you can see that more clearly. All right, so it's going to come down like this. This was our supraduodenal. Oh, that was my accessory pancreatic duct. Okay. And we're going to have, so that gastroduodenal artery is now going to send off, it's going to branch into two. One of them is going to be the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery, and the other one is going to become the right gastro-omental artery. Okay, so let's review that again. Common hepatic artery proper, gastroduodenal sends off supraduodenal. Gastroduodenal continues inferiorly, then branches into two, superior pancreatico-duodenal and right gastro-omental, which will go around the greater curvature of the stomach. So while we have the duodenum removed, we can also see a few other things. So the second branch off of the abdominal aorta. So the first one was the celiac trunk with left gastric, splenic, and common hepatic. The second one is the superior mesenteric artery. This artery is huge, and it's going to send off some branches that supply the pancreas. So what's interesting about the pancreas is that there is no one pancreatic artery. Instead, the pancreas gets its blood supply from lots of different arteries, right? So we already learned about the superior pancreatico-duodenal. We have some branches coming off the superior mesenteric artery. We also will have some branches coming off of the left gastro-omental artery and the splenic artery. So the pancreas is kind of promiscuous. So here's some branches coming off the splenic artery. Here's some branches coming off the left gastro-omental artery. It gets its blood supply from lots of different places, and that has to do with how it originated embryologically. It grows very differently than most other organs did. Okay, So I think we can now put our duodenum back in place, and you'll see that the superior mesenteric artery kind of comes out over the fourth portion of the duodenum. And let me put my supraduodenal artery back in situ. How are we doing? Did we do all the different parts? I think we did all the different parts. So let's review. Okay, pylorus, duodenum, first part, second part, third part, fourth part. We have the minor papilla, which was receiving the accessory pancreatic duct, and the major papilla, which receives the main pancreatic duct, as well as the bile duct or common bile duct. They're both coming in there together. Kind of hard to see. All right, so I'm going to move the duodenum out of the way because it's bothersome. Okay, common hepatic artery branches into the hepatic artery proper, which gives off the right gastric artery to the lesser curvature of the stomach, which would be anterior to these structures. The left and right hepatic arteries and the cystic artery, which is coming off of the right hepatic artery. We have our gallbladder with our left and right hepatic ducts, our cystic duct, which is bringing bile from the gallbladder itself. They all drain into the common bile duct, otherwise called the bile duct, which travels posterior to the pancreas and will then join into it and drain into the duodenum along with the main pancreatic duct. Following our arteries, so common hepatic artery into hepatic artery proper and gastroduodenal. The first branch off that gastroduodenal is the supraduodenal or supraduodenal, which will be on the superior surface of the duodenum. The gastroduodenal continues inferiorly, branches into the superior pancreaticoduodenal and the right gastroomental. Here we have our superior mesenteric artery coming off our abdominal aorta with branches to the pancreas. We have our left gastroomental artery, which was a branch off the splenic artery with branches to the pancreas. We have the splenic artery back here with branches to the pancreas. And I'm going to move my pancreas now so we can see these other structures here, and we can see that bile duct on the posterior surface of the pancreas. We've got, there's our left gastroomental, here's our splenic artery, splenic vein, superior mesenteric vein, inferior mesenteric vein, all coming together into the hepatic portal vein. So I think those are all of our structures. It's quite a lot in a very small space.